So, we're internal skin remedies. Better skin from the inside out. This reminds me of Nickelodeon when I was little. We used to watch this cartoon called The Adventures of Inside Out Boy, I believe.
Oh.
And the way did you ever hear about him? And the way he became Inside Out Boy is one day, you know, as a kid on the swing, you always can go only so high before you come down. Well, Inside Out Boy did something special and miraculous. What he did is he went all the way around. And when he came back, his organs were on the outside of his body.
Oh!
And it made him like into a superhero, you know, because some bully would be saying, hey, give me your money or whatever to some little kid. And Inside Out Boy would pop up and like show his heart, you know, because he'd be beating outside his chest. And they'd be like, oh, that's gross, and run away. And the little kid, the little wimpy kid would be like, Inside Out Boy, you saved me, you know. another win for Inside Out Boy. Yeah. And it was very educational. But the thing about Inside Out Boy is that he's not too different from who we really are. You know, nothing's really hidden. Eventually, it all shows up on the skin. Hence this first slide. You know, this is Inside Out Girl, you know. But Inside Out Girl, it looks like she has some makeup on. So we're not going to really see what's really going on. But we have so many methods of covering up what's on the outside. So she's wearing like a lip gloss, or maybe like even a lipstick, which is covering up her lips so that we won't be able to tell if she's really dehydrated or not. Oftentimes we're putting on a lot of chapsticks, even natural chapsticks, you know, Burt's Bees or whatever. Those things are things that keep people from noticing what we're lacking. So,
including yourself.
Including yourself. You can keep lying to yourself like, oh, I just need my Carmex. I just need my makeup, whatever it is, so that we can't see what the kidneys are doing, what the liver is really doing, what the small intestine. We can't see where the blemishes are popping up. We can't see where the little rashes are popping up. So the skin is your first defense from outside dangers. What you'll notice is that,
so sorry.
you know, there's always a bunch of things coming from north of the wall. You know what I mean? All the time. And this would represent your skin, the wall itself. And these would represent like little leukocytes or neutrophils, different things there to protect you. Because it's very similar to this actually, because your skin cells are dead. You know, just like this ice isn't going to be like, ouch, when something hits it. The top layer of your skin isn't going to like feel anything. That's why when you scratch it, you get that little white layer there. That's dead skin cells from the top. And so just know that the skin is supposed to be where things are showing up first. That's how it's built. And it's the best organ for monitoring and mobilizing tissues for defense. So just think of it like this. You have all these dead skin cells, but then they're all oiled up. Everything's all juiced up in there, and then you have life in there that's there to protect you. So that changes the perspective, because a lot of us just look at it like, oh, it's just like paper. You know, it's like just this flat thing going on. And it's really riddled with what they call spindle cells. You know, so many bacteria, so many good, even white blood cells and things under the epidermis, they're fighting off bacteria before they even reach the surface. So that's where overwashing becomes a problem. Especially with like soaps that strip all, you know, you're all dry afterward. You can feel it. You're like, oh, I guess I better get some lotion on. You know, you just wiped out so much of your body's innate protection just from soap, you know, overwashing. So remember, neutrophils make up 95% of the white blood cells in your blood. Okay, so these neutrophils, they're constantly coming up to protect you. And these will represent your neutrophils there. All right, so body butters and creams and washes are everywhere, promoting miracle results for those that stick to a regimen of thorough washing and facial moisture practices. Though these methods can be more or less helpful for folks that are having skin reactions to dirt, dryness, and grease blocking pores, this is simply the wrong approach for many skin issues. So I don't know how many people of you guys know people that like did Proactive and did a lot of these skin things, and then and they have results, but then when it's done, it's just like because you didn't hit the core. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as people that get a headache. You know, I constantly upset people because they say I have a headache, and the first question I ask is why. Like, what do you mean why? I just got a headache. We act like it's just like this monster that popped out of nowhere and jumped on you. It's like, no. What is your body telling you about yourself? And so that headache, there's different kinds of headaches. There's sharp headaches. There's dull headaches. There's throbbing headaches. Each one giving you a different alarm. Each one's like a different or a but we've lost the language on how to read the body the way we used to, due to just, covered up pill. And so that you're still injuring yourself underneath that. and it's the same thing with the skin. The skin is like another alarm system. It's telling you things about yourself. And that's why so many ancient communities would just look at the face and say, oh yeah, you got issues here and there and there and there internally, just from external factors. Yeah, let's keep going. 90% of all skin-related hangups are problems that originate internally. The proper elimination of waste is of utmost importance. There are several primary organ systems responsible for pushing toxins out of the body. Today, we're primarily concerned with the skin and the liver. And so some people are like, what do you mean about like the skin? Like, is the skin its own organ for getting rid of things? Absolutely. The skin can get rid of wastes by itself. The only problem is that it shouldn't have to. That's how it gets tired out, things like that. It really mirrors the liver in so many ways. Like it even processes wastes and packages wastes. And it's actually, as far as excretion, it excretes in the summertime. It can excrete just as much fluid as the kidneys. We don't notice it because it's such a gradual loss of sweat. Like even now, everybody in here is sweating, And then with the kidney, with the urinary tract, we're losing like quick, fast amounts of water. But you're always sweating. So in the summer, remember, you're constantly losing water. You're constantly losing toxins. Okay? So that's why sweat lodges are good in the winter, for example. It's another treatment. Once again, it gets heat underneath the skin. But also this would apply to like warm yoga. Things where that warmth is just pressed into the skin. Is also really good for the skin. Okay? Because remember, when things are warmed up, there's movement. Which is why when you saw that icy wall there and all that ice, winter is coming. Very dangerous thing, because when winter's coming, the White Walkers are coming. These little zombie type people are coming in to wreak havoc on your system. Okay? And that's how it is with actual viruses and bacteria and things. We have a very blame other people sort of culture. You sneezed on me. Oh my God. You're getting me sick. Yeah, but did you fortify your own castle? Did you make sure that your internal sun was burning bright? How's your Agni? Are you sitting around drinking cold drinks in the winter? Are you eating a whole lot of chocolate and candies and things that bring up this crazy amount of energy just to bottom it out? Which is another form of coldness. It's slowness. It's lack of action. It's depression. Depression is also associated with coldness. It has the same characteristics as nature. When you're depressed, you're like, oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, everything's dead. So also keep that in mind. And even energetically, you'll notice that a lot of people, when they're getting sick, they'll start to have hints of sadness or just feeling out of sorts. And I like to think of that as the almost the consciousness of the illness making a house that's more suitable for it, because it likes to be in full alignment emotionally, physically, and in the soul. Okay. The skin is the largest organ of elimination. Whoa. So this is a guy beholding his skin for the first time, just realizing that, wow, this is a massive thing. Okay. The skin is super large, and that's how big. Yeah, Sharona was telling me about this slide.
Yeah, that was from
the expo.
The Works, Body Works or something.
Works.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is
that skin off is amazing.
This is like that's you holding your skin. Like you could literally grab your skin and wear it like as a big blanket. Like that's how much skin you have going on. And skin is very important for maintaining the temperature of our body things like that through vasodilation. Things warm up, you got the opening of the pores, it brings blood to the surface, and you're nice and warm and vigorous. Oh, it's getting cold. Like, let's preserve this blood from getting too cold. So we'll shoot the blood down lower, and you have protection in that way. But you got to be careful that when you're closing these pores, remember that the skin, once again, is not functioning at a high level. There's higher levels of psoriasis, higher levels of eczema and things like that, usually in the winter, due to constant clothing covering things up, lack of sun, being indoors, because things are kind of shut down.
Are there ways to combat that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and which segues into like skin brushing, for example. You know, getting a light little lymphatic skin brush, or any kind of brush really, and just stimulating. Remember, when you're stimulating your skin, you're summoning more blood to that area.
Do I need to buy something, or is this something I can make?
You can use anything. You can use anything to stimulate the surface, anything that's brushy.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
Just even a shower this morning, and my towel, a dry towel, helped move stuff because there's enough roughness to it, and then it helped take off all the dead skin cells. Just even a dry washcloth.
I'd like to add something. So, 10 months ago today, I watched my newest granddaughter being born. And as soon as she came out of the womb, they put her on her mother's breast, and they started rubbing her with towels. And she was kind of bluish in color, and she started turning pink and just breathing and just coming to life. And it was such a simple thing, just rubbing her pretty roughly with these towels. So,
That's interesting.
That is powerful.
can I add something too?
Yeah.
Because I worked with a lot of special ed kids, one of the things the therapists would do for kids that were ADHD is they would come in and they would rub the kids, and it centered them. I must have brought more blood to the surface, but it absolutely centered them. And they were just little soft brushes they use on newborns to stimulate and get, but we had to do it like this all over them, arms and legs.
That makes so much
everywhere.
sense.
And then those kids calmed down, but they had to have permission, to do something to their bodies.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Also, the skin can get rid of water and oil-based waste through sebaceous glands. It also gets rid of water-based toxins through sweat. So once again, sweating is very healthy. Okay, yeah.
Can you expand upon that? Because, I would love to just understand a little bit more about sebum and, what's its purpose.
Yeah. Well, the sebum can also be used to help too much water from escaping. But its main purpose is to keep things nice and oily for all the bacteria, all the good bacteria, and the good enzymes that are on top of the skin.
Like the microbiome to actually keep you safe.
All that. You want to keep it, you want a good natural layer of oils on you at all times. Remember, water is not the only kind of dehydration out there. I'm so dehydrated, I'm just drinking water. There's also oil dehydration, which is less talked about. So eating high quality oils like avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, and staying away from cheap oils is very good, because your body is made up. That's stuff used to make cholesterol, which is the whole backup for everything you are. All your cells, everything has brain, all that. So all this anti-cholesterol stuff is very dangerous too. You just want good cholesterols. You want to give your body great materials to use. And also another interesting thing to note is that the skin mirrors the liver in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is that they found high levels of urine in the sweat, or sweat from the sweat, like the excretion has a lot of urine in it. Not as much, of course, as the urine itself, but it has really small traces of it, just showing you that you're not just peeing through your urinary tract. You're peeing through your sweat too, That's a good visual, right?
Wow.
But I'm just showing you that to show that they're both working, in that way to kind of package things up and get them out of you. Okay. See if there's anything else here I wanted to say before I go to the next one here. The blood vessels bring fresh blood, nutrients, and oxygen to the skin. We oftentimes think of all these vessels and stuff as tubes, like these cord to the laptop or whatever. Like, it's just this closed thing. But everything has pores. Okay, so when I talk about like different things and like different cells coming to protect you, like white blood cells, they're coming through those blood vessels. Okay, they're getting pushed out, coming back in. There's like this whole breathing thing that's going on between those guys, and so it's just a really good when you think of it like, oh, okay, so the more healthier my blood vessels are, the more blood is flowing, the more healthier my skin's going to be as well, because all the little fighters that need to come through those pores can make it through. But imagine all that being clogged up. It's a very dangerous thing. Okay. So once again, here's a little slide here, just kind of showing the oils that come from these sebaceous glands here, just oiling the surface. Okay, that's in a healthy person, where things aren't super blocked.
Is there a purpose for our hair all over?
Well, the hair is definitely there to like, it's a sensory thing. It talks to the nerves. It's also there to help keep us warm as well. Remember, warmth is very important for us. Remember, the coldest human is a dead human. You know what I'm saying? So we're always trying to find ways to protect ourselves from cold or cold-like symptoms.
And I heard about a study that was done recently where they were kind of trying to figure out, where they were just tracking some different nomadic communities across a few different continents that still kind of exist pretty independently from other communities. And they said that, we kind of had made this assumption that most nomadic communities would have used the sun as an indicator for when to stop working or things like that. And they said that was not, it was the temperature.
Wow.
They based it off of temperature. And they would get up so that their sleep would be, their deepest sleep would be at the coldest.
That makes so much sense, because that's how nature works.
Yeah, totally.
But we have so much artificial,
Yeah.
and it gives us the illusion that we're separate from nature, that we're not nature.
True.
Oh, I'm gonna go to nature this weekend. It's like, no, you are nature. You're just a piece of nature that's kind of detached from other aspects of nature, but you're still nature. And you're still reacting to things you don't know you're reacting to. Sweat glands excrete waste and cool the surface. This can't be done without proper hydration. So can't stress enough the water thing too. Oil's big and water's big. They're both big. The nerves connect our inner and outer environment. I think the nerves are very much ignored when it comes to skin health. But if you've ever noticed someone who's very depressed, or even someone really scared, you'll see their skin is like flushed, the pale look, people that are really nervous, the skin is not getting what it needs. And primarily that's due to a lack of blood getting to those nerves. Blood vessels constrict when there's a lot of stress, because, just think of how we react to stress. Oh my God, it's coming. Blood vessels everything's mirroring each other. And if you're stuck in a state where everything's constricted, there's no nourishment getting to this nerve that's not just going through one layer of the skin. It's all through the dermis to the, it's all being affected. So that's a very important thing to know, because the blood vessels provide oxygen and nutrients to those sensory nerves. Okay, so just always being aware, okay, breathing, deep breathing, de-stressing. Those are other ways to help your skin. People are like, I'm wash my face every day and be stressed out. Why isn't this working? It's like your nerves, because your nerves also feed the smooth muscles of the skin. Okay, all the glands. It's very important to have nervous stimulation there. Okay. Moving here, our skin glows when it's rested and well nourished, but can become drab or pale if there aren't good materials. Once again, I just put these here to kind of represent good, healthy skin. You can see the elasticity, And once again, these are symbols. They represent good skin, Even her face doesn't look stressed. It's almost like there's a sunniness about her. You want to provide that agony, that metabolic fire, that strong digestive fire. It radiates through the skin. It radiates through the pores. Her skin's breathing. But also when the main stomach, the main heat, the solar plexus is taken care of, and you have that heat, also each cell is going to mirror that. So it's like a microcosm each cell is like, they're bursting bright with heat and happiness too. So everything like reflects the other.
So on the other extreme, inflammation would be the bonfire that got out of control.
Absolutely. So there's good heat and there's bad heat. And in Chinese medicine, they call it like false heat. You know, good heat is like a regular, it's like the sun in a forest, just burning. Everything's nice around it. Birds are little dragon, or not dragon, but little whatever. There could be a dragon, yeah, unicorn, whatever. Everything's happy. Everything's happy. The sun just lightly does its thing. Whole different type of heat than a forest fire, just raging. Everything's you know. Even though some forest fires can like end up being healing on the downside, some people are constantly inflamed, and that's oftentimes due to allergies. Allergies are a big reason why skin issues happen. Like we have a little sneeze here, hachoo, hachoo. I guarantee you that if you're having a hachoo, hachoo, there's a hachoo going on within. Remember, whatever's outside is also manifesting within. Also, with a lot of food allergies, some of them don't manifest until about 4 hours later. So sometimes we don't link that food to the allergy. And allergies can manifest anywhere in the body at any time. So it can manifest as, oh, my hot anus, or a rash under the armpit, or whatever. And you're thinking it's just, oh, let me get some skin cream, but it could be a food that's causing that, or something in the air, causing an issue somewhere else. Bad blood or blood full of toxins can create problems. Infections will not be cleared away if the charge of the blood is sticky, thick, and full of bacteria. So that's just something to really pay attention to, is that what her face sort of represented, although there can be a lot of various different reasons for acne, for example, and whatever she has going on. But I just wanted to use it as a representation to show you that if the blood vessels are sticky, there's not a very good ebb and flow going on. So things get clogged. So when you're looking at the blood vessel itself, like whether it's like an artery, for example, you want those vessels to repel. You want the wall of the vessel to repel the internal fluids. You want it to repel it so that they're not sticking. You don't want it to all be like magnetized to each other, like glob, 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 because that stuff builds up and starts showing in the face. So that's why herbs that get rid of elimination herbs, also known as alteratives, are some of the best remedies you can find for skin, because what they do is they kind of open things up. You know, they create warmth in certain areas and they push out. You know, yarrow, for example, would be a great example of like a diaphoretic alternative. You know, it makes you sweat, you know, and brings blood circulation to the surface, and whew, that fever is gone, or whatever that thing was, is just being pushed out. So, and these just kind of represent kind of what happens I'll read it. Clogged sebaceous glands can cause issues if bacteria and inflammation create issues. So remember, inflammation is like a war happening. Okay, the reason you got all these white stuff, these white heads and things like that, you got basically a war going on between the neutrophils that came to save the day and the bacteria, the bad bacteria that got in the follicle. Okay, so they're fighting. The fight gets bigger. Oh God, it's still going on, raging out of control until you pop everybody out of there. It's congestion. The skin's biggest support is the liver. Oh, and that's another thing I wanted to mention about alternatives, or those elimination herbs, is that once again, they specialize in changing the charge of the blood to where it's crisp. You know, it's crisp and it's flowy. You know, just wanted to reiterate that. The skin's biggest support is the liver. The liver takes pressure off the skin so that the skin doesn't have to remove toxins from the body on its own. It's super important to fortify the liver and the bowels for this reason. The skin will be much more efficient with a strong liver to help out. Also, keeping the liver strong will keep hormone buildup from occurring, which can lead to excess sebum secretion. So when you look at this liver, know that this is the super helper. You know, like the more you fortify this liver, the less your skin's like, oh, I got to do this now, I got to do that. Okay. Because think about it, all the bacteria that's at the surface, you can get it before it gets to the surface with a strong liver. Okay, all the congestion in those fluids, if your liver's healthy and everything, it can get it all fortified and cleaned out before it gets to the surface. The liver the skin is, once again, it's your first attack from outside forces, but the liver is the first from the inside. Okay, so you want the skin to be able to focus on the outside. You don't want it to so much have to focus on the inside too, because it's like, oh, I gotta watch my back again, which makes that guard extra tired. Okay. Remember what you do to the skin, what you do to the liver, you do to the skin. Cholagogues are good because cholagogues will help the digestive tract. Cholagogue meaning herbs that help promote bile secretion are going to, and it's your own body's natural laxative. It's really going to help get things really flowing and drained out. That's where your bitters come into play. Bitter herbs are also great for the skin. Bitter herbs are also alteratives as well. You know, and there's varying degrees of that. An alternative are herbs that specialize in changing or altering. Remember the word alter? Alter the quality of the blood, pretty much. Alter the quality of the blood to help for the elimination of toxins. Okay?
Fatty liver tends to be in my family,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if that means liver congestion, like that the biosecreting herbs would help break down some of the fats.
Absolutely.
In the liver to move it into the bloodstream to be, because you said the liver breaks down and reconstructs back so the body can absorb.
Absolutely. Very, very much so. And, you know, if you can fortify that liver once again through things like milk thistle, things like that, because it just promotes liver function in general. That'd be called a choleric.
Okay.
If the person does not have a gallbladder, it's usually better to give a choleric. There's no reason of you trying to tell that gallbladder to squeeze if they don't have one. Mm-hmm. So, but the liver can still make some of its own bile. It just doesn't have the extra pocket to hold extra bile. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely. Those bitters, those alternatives would definitely show up and make a big change.
So probably the fat stagnates.
Absolutely. Stagnation is your big enemy. They used to call it bad blood, or they would call it canker. Basically, just too much waste, or dirty blood. And so what you're trying to do is create the opposite of that. You're trying to take it from a damp state into basically a light, flowy state. And alternatives are just very good at thinning things out. You know, where you get like red root and things like that.
Yeah.
So, remember, allergies can manifest anywhere. We talked about that, so we'll keep going. Yes. Many of the waste particles from the blood can be recycled, but only if the liver is functioning. You know, sometimes our liver is overly bogged down with so many things, you know, chemicals from the outside, you know, whatever else you took into yourself that your body wasn't able to process very good, whether it was drugs or whatever. Then on top of that, the liver's dealing with things that you have to get rid of naturally, you know, whether it's dead viruses, dead bacteria floating around, you know, reconstructing different parts of you. So many of these waste particles from the body can be recycled, but only if the liver is functioning. If the liver is down, the skin will have to work harder. 90% of what you make gets recycled to make more you. Okay, so if the liver is at its height, if it's at its peak performance, you won't even have to get rid of as many wastes, because it's taking the wastes and pulling them apart while you sleep from 1 to 3 a.m., which is the liver's peak performance. That's why it's really good to be in a deep sleep by 1, in between that period from 1 to 3, because that's when the liver activity shoots up and it shifts its direction from portal vein activity, which means that it shifts its perspective or its focus from the digestion to general circulation. Okay, yeah.
So is it better to take your liver herbs at night?
No, not necessarily. But remember, it's kind of like how we go into a deep sleep, like a REM type phase. The liver shifts into another phase where it doesn't want anything really in the body at that point. It doesn't want to have to process anything. So, and so the least things that are in there, the more it can kind of relax and be nourished by the newly oxygenated blood coming from the hepatic artery. Okay? And not from all the dirty blood coming from the portal vein that just drained from your small intestine. Okay? So that's why it's bad to just be sitting there with your donut and then fall asleep. Your liver's like, oh, really? We're going to be up all night trying to process. And they just ate the pseudo pepperoni, you know, so we got to break that down. God knows what's in there. You know, but what about this fresh blood coming in? Oh, just close off that vessel. We're going to work. We're going to be up all night, fellas. So then you wake up feeling like, what is wrong? Why am I so tired? It's because your liver is the part of you that breaks all that stuff down and creates the parts of the blood that are going to energize you the next day. If you're not going to have it, it's not, you're overworking the liver. It has to literally pull everything apart, put it back together, in ways where you can burn it the next day.
Do you think it's better to eat simple foods instead of complex foods? Because you said pseudo pepperoni, and that sounds like a whole lot of breaking down right there.
Well, I think that as far as food breakdown, the more complex things need to be earlier in the day.
Okay.
The liver's already freshly woke up. Yeah, I can take on anything. But as things progress closer to night, you want to simplify as much as possible.
Is that also maybe one of the benefits and reasons why it's kind of a mainstream concept that you shouldn't eat super close to going to bed?
Absolutely. Yeah. Any trainer is pretty much usually only eat your carbs early, your complex carbs early, then kind of downscale it later on. I've heard a lot of people talk about how breakfast should probably be your biggest, breakfast or lunch should be your biggest meal, but dinner is never recommended ever as the biggest meal of the day. Yeah.
Earlier if you're, because it's part of the culture.
Right. And honestly, dinner's even been early. It was earlier before, most modern families, with work and things, we're eating dinner at 8 o'clock. But dinner used to be at 4 or 5 in certain families.
Dinner at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nowadays, people are that's lunch. I'm going to be hungry right now, brother. Give me the pseudo pepperonis. The liver makes weapons for stopping bacteria. The liver specializes in making blood proteins for defense. One thing the liver makes is intrinsic factor components, which are proteins that stick together to cover a bacterium or a malfunctioning cell so that macrophages can eat it. Okay? So this is another thing the liver is doing while you are in that deep sleep. It's putting together these weapons that other cells are going to use to fight or cover up. Well, not just cover up, but just kind of make them stick together so they're easily, it's like a trap, really, to set the traps for all the little baddies in your system. Less sleep, once again, so sleep is my other big one, okay? So sleep, water, and oils, okay, are massive, and alternative herbs are going to be, and if you can get a little fasting in there every once in a while, not a bad idea, especially if you've been overdoing it, And once again, this benefits your immune system too. Help him out. He's in there. He's all alone. All right, and this is just I just want to show a diagram. This shows, the bile draining into the intestine from the gallbladder there. You got the little portal vein, which is the vein that takes which can easily become clogged or congested. Because once again, veins don't have any muscles in them or anything that help things move. It's just like a flaccid sort of tube. So you got things coming in there from the small intestine, and then this is where the fresh blood comes in through the hepatic artery, and where the liver would rather focus, while you're sleeping, as opposed to the food coming through this. All your nutrients that you're going to need to break down are going to come through this portal vein. It's a massive vein if you actually see an actual picture of it. Very big.
Does that go up through the heart?
It goes all the way up, absolutely. All right, the liver is in charge of cholesterol usage as well. Cholesterol is synthesized and organized in the liver. Hormones are made from cholesterol. So that's another thing. Taking care of your liver, you might be helping your hormones out as well. It's just a great place to start is the liver. The liver is like the foundation. It's like Mama Earth. It's like control command center. Nothing is powered without it. And so, people are like, oh, I have hormonal issues, so I'm taking Vitex, or I'm taking this other thing to help my hormones. I'm trying to stimulate the pituitary gland to make different. It's like, wait, have you even looked at the liver yet?
Maybe premenstrual, doing a lot more liver stuff.
Absolutely.
About,
absolutely.
keep that hormonal balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend alternatives during those hormonal changes and things like that.
I'm really confused about what cholesterol is, and is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Cholesterol is a good thing. You are made out of cholesterol. Cholesterol, the problem is that some people have too much of what they call high density. Actually, the low density lipids. So the density it creates a difference in the weight. Okay, so you have high density lipids that are kind of like heavy. Then you have low density lipids that are light and fluffy. Low density lipids we tend to make too much of. They tend to clog things up because they're light and fluffy like marshmallows, and they clog up. They block things up. But you also need things to clog things up because sometimes you'll have little cuts and things in your blood vessels, and they'll send that up to kind of smooth it out. It's just too much of anything can become a bad thing. Okay.
And
Yeah.
to add one thing, some people, my dad has a lot of clogging in his legs, and he's had to have some surgeries and stuff. And it was because he had a lifestyle of smoking and drinking, which created a lot of inflammation. And so sugar creates a lot of inflammation if we are overdoing it, and poor diet, and so that's when that inflammation affects the inside of the vessels and the veins, and then that cholesterol, the low density lipids, will start sticking to the inflammation because the inflammation creates it's like rough inside of the vein, and then it starts sticking and building up.
I see.
So
Yeah, so the inflammation definitely makes it way worse. Yeah. It creates this whole environment where the cholesterol does become bad, And the inflammation can come from an allergy, you know what I mean? Or whatever your thing is that you never noticed. The liver cleanses blood from drugs, waste, and various toxins through tearing down and building up. You can't only wash blood through filtration. So basically, this is just saying that the liver can't just do it through filtration. It also needs time to pull things apart, which we talked about. You see the toxins here going through phase 1, and this is before the liver metabolizes everything and kicks it out where it needs to go. The liver is like the quarterback. The quarterback's like, all right, now where's this going to go? It's like that. They can kick it out to the kidneys if it's water soluble, kick it out to the digestive tract if it's oil soluble, pretty much. It also has the power to make some things either or. It's like a brain in itself. Think with your gut. It's probably talking about this liver, Think with your liver. The liver is also associated with courage, though. I don't know how many times I've heard the pirates talking about you lily-livered. It's like you don't have a liver. Where's your,
And anger too.
Anger, yeah.
Really harbored in there.
Absolutely.
From first-hand experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And they say skullcap is a great herb for that, by the way.
Yeah, I love
They say skullcap is a great herb for and dandelion too, though. They say dandelion's good for peeing out anger. Absolutely. So this is just another diagram kind of showing the liver working with different cholesterols, things like that. Just a picture of the kidneys, just saying that the liver makes sure that wastes are usually packed in a way that makes it easy for kidneys to excrete the fluids. The immune systems of the skin may be put under too much stress without the help of the kidneys, urination, the gut, bowels, and liver bile to excrete oils and fats. So this represents the skin. So Stannis Baratheon was overwhelmed by the military, but it's only because, he was listening to some bad advice from the Red Queen.
Just
a little bad advice, so he ends up losing parts of his army, but that's what's happening to the skin. The liver backs out, kidneys back out, everything's shutting down. All you have is this general that's like, oh, dang. Oh, and you see his skin's not looking too good either. Okay. This was an interesting thing. Sometimes the skin has already been degraded by smoking, which has been shown to constrict blood